Well, boys and girls, here we are at MaxsGarajMahal. We've got the old Super Z out here on the trailer. As you can see, now I wished I'd shown you this before we started. I just thought maybe I'll shoot a little bit of this. And you've seen this before. The old exhaust is sort of trash. So all this has got to be replaced right down through here. All that, and down through here and around, and that brace and bracket. All that's got to be replaced, so we're going to build that. Been to the muffler shop last 2 days, and the gentleman, bless his heart, blew out his knee, and he's in the hospital today, so I guess he thought he'd get over it last night. But since he can't do it, we need this thing to go forward, so we're going to go ahead and take this muffler off, cut all this off, grind it all out, and see if we can get it ready. I may not be able to do this because I don't have a way over at this old shop to bend that pipe. So we may go over there and borrow his bender, bend a piece of pipe, pay them for the time to use their bender, bring it back over here and see if we can't get it put in and welded in place where it belongs, and to get this thing up and running a little bit nicer and quieter. So here we go, stay tuned. We're going to get this thing taken apart. First of all, we are going to take these 3 bolts right here, these 3 right here, and that's going to remove the heat shield. Then right down in there, see those 2 shiny bolts right down in there? Got to take those 2 off. And if this muffler was in good shape and the pipe was in good shape, then that clamp, you'd take that loose and you would rotate this muffler off of the header and lift the muffler right out of this pocket right here. So what we're going to do, take those 3 bolts out, remove this. It comes out first. Remove those 2 bolts. That's the reason why it's sitting back here on the back of the trailer, so we can get up under it a little bit higher than normal. And as you can see, safety first, so we did put a couple of scotches on here to make sure it didn't roll back any further than I wanted to. And you can see how much this thing weighs. It has picked up the back of the old S10 there in the front of the trailer. Look at the tire gap in front of the wheels there. So anyway, and by the way, while we're here, let's measure this thing, see if we can put 26-inch tires on this thing. I believe we can. All right. Yeah, buddy, I believe we'll put some 26s on this thing since we get her up, start towards some speed. And if I were to make these brackets right here taller, hold the fenders, get those fenders up to about right there, we could go up to about a 30-inch tire. It'd be close, but we might be able to get a 30 on there. But anyway, that's another thing, that's another story. So we're going to get on this thing and get busy, and we'll be back here shortly as soon as we get some progress made. Alrighty, here we go. Getting these 2 bottom bolts down here on the bracket because the frame's in the way, and you really need 2 people to do this to make it easier. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to spin these off first with this little 1/4-inch 12-volt Milwaukee impact wrench here, just to see if it'll knock them loose. It loosened them enough that maybe we can get a wrench on this thing from the bottom. And I'm hoping I can get a ratchet socket extension on there and hold it from both ends, and we'll be able to get this bolt out. Then we'll pull this out. We'll show you what it looks like. We've got the exhaust gas sensor loose. We've got the 2 bolts out, well, almost out. Now we have the 2 3/8 1-inch bolts out, and now this thing is. It's been welded in by Chris Bryant's shops many times. Really poorly, I must add. So what we're going to do is we're going to manufacture a new pipe that goes in here, and we're going to replace this bracket right here. We're going to close this up, close that up. We're going to weld this broken piece on right here. We're going to put that back on. We're probably going to create a little more heat shield that goes down at the bottom, because I burnt the grass stopping long enough to pick up the pulley cover the other day. And if you watched that video, you know that was probably 10 seconds off and on. So we're going to clean this old piece of pipe up here, take all this off, and we'll see if we can't manufacture something that's a little nicer than this, and maybe a little larger opening so that it'll breathe a little bit better. So, and it tells you here, you probably can't see that because it says, but it says H-O-T, hot. I assure you it's hot, because you can see where the exhaust has burnt the paint off this the last couple of days since it's been running. So we're going to get busy. We're going to reinforce this. We're going to try to add one more bracket to it up top, so that right now the muffler is mounted on the frame and the header is holding the pipe or the muffler up. It's sitting there just doing this all the time. So we're going to try to bring a bracket around the side. We may try to go around this side so it's out of the way of the valve cover. If that looks like it's going to be welded directly to the muffler, it might not. But we're going to work it out. But we may bring one in around the side and bolt right in here between the bolt, the engine guard, and the muffler shield. That way it is secured, and that'll take the lateral load out of it. It'll help take some of the vertical load, and hopefully we can make this thing work a lot better. And while I got that muffler out, I'm going to look for that oil leak on the hydraulic, and we're going to get busy, so we'll be back. Back to the hand. Well, as you can see, we're getting there. Looks like somebody tried to braze it on there with some brass. Lordy, lordy. Anyway, we're going to, looks like in order to make this right, we're going to have to go ahead and take off this bracket here and manufacture a new one. But anyway, we're going to keep on with this thing. We'll come back when we get it ready to show you some more. So just stay tuned here, and we're going to do, this is going to be really segmented, but we're going to make this right. We're going to make it pretty too. Okay. By the way, whenever you're doing stuff like this, make sure you don't have any kind of fuel leaks or lightweight oil leaks, because talking about a fire, you don't want to burn down the garage mahal, and you don't want to burn down your trailer and your truck and your Super Z and all that stuff. So anyway, just be careful and make sure that when you do this stuff, you're doing it outside if you can, and use appropriate safety measures, goggles, earmuffs, which my earmuffs are laying here somewhere. Let me get them, put them on, so I'll make a little bit better example. I actually cleaned them up and didn't put them on. That's pretty silly, isn't it? Of course, I think the reason why I didn't put them on is stop to take a drink of water. All right, let's take a look at this thing and just see how close we are to breaking through, because we got to take this bracket off, as we said earlier. Well, we're getting closer, but it still ain't pretty. But we'll get there. All right. And again, we got to take that bracket off, which is, it's all conglomerated there with a bunch of bronze. So we'll get, just bear with me, and we'll get there. So here we go some more. All right, we're going to move the camera now because it's getting too dangerous for it, so hang on. Well, it was an all-day fight, but I won. Burned a hole in my shirt. It's terrible. But I didn't show you all this on camera. I used a direct TV or dish satellite, one of those pipes they use to put the satellites out in the yard, and we fit it in there, and that welder hadn't been used in so many years that apparently I'm gonna have to say grace over it and get rid of it, because it when you pull the trigger it'll feed as long as you pull the trigger until you start welding, and then it's like it's grounding back inside the gun. So it was a fight. The weld looks terrible. It functions, and as far as pipe goes, I used what I had and had what I used. So anyway, it was a little bit large and it won't quite pull down far enough, and I can weld it onto the header, which I don't want to do. So I may heat that thing up and put a smaller clamp on it, and while it's heated, tighten it down, and that'll probably seal it up. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start it, then I'll show it to you. It's much quieter, but I'll tell you what's inside that muffler. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. When I look down inside that muffler, you can see from one end to the other, and it's absolutely hollow in there. All the heat shields are broken loose all over, so I welded those back up. And I need still to make that bracket to take some weight off of this. That's going to be a little hot to handle. That feels solid, but for some reason this mower has kept breaking those pipes off, and this pipe's probably a little heavier than when it was on it, but I don't trust it, so I'm going to go ahead and make a bracket now right through here that goes in behind between the heat shield and the guard, and that way it'll help support, as I said earlier in the video. So anyway, let me turn this off for a second. I'll take the camera off and I'll point you down there at it. first one laughs that weld, I'm gonna stick this welder. Never mind. That's just a joke. But anyway, finally, after I had all the globs on there and ground a bunch of it off several times, I finally got it to weld, and it still wasn't welding really smoothly. So I got to take that thing apart and find out what's wrong with it. But still, it works. There was a hole in the bottom of the muffler that I plugged it up with a freeze plug. So there was also a hole on the back side over there. You see where these welds are at on the heat shield here? There was one on the back side, where my finger's at there, right over there in the middle of the heat shield, and it had a rectangular hole in it, and it was about 1/4 by 5/8. So this thing had exhaust leaks all over, and there's no wonder that all these tubing were burnt and looking pretty bad, all the wires and stuff. So anyway, it's got a little bitty tiny exhaust leak right there, and as soon as I get that taken care of, it'll still be quieter, even though it's really loud out of the exhaust pipe itself. So anyway, that's what we got done today, and boy, it sure would have been nice if I could have done that in about 35 minutes to an hour, which is about what it should have taken. But this is life. Didn't happen. So anyway, be right back. Alrighty, so we had to purchase a 1 5/8 inch hose clamp, or sorry, muffler clamp, and or pipe clamp if you prefer. And let's see, I used my cutting torch is out of both acetylene and oxygen, so that didn't work out. So we used this MAP gas here. So that, and it's one of these simple jobs where you turn it on. It's already on. Pull the trigger. So that was a plus when it was 80 or 90 something degrees today out in the middle of the sun here. So anyway, it's pretty much taken care of. So we hope that you got something out of this. I don't know what it would be, but if you did, please subscribe. By all means, please hit that like button, because we need more likes. Hey, that's what YouTube uses to get you on algorithm, to, you know, put you out where people can find you. So we wore a mask today. We wore our hearing muffs while we were grinding, and we Lysol sprayed. This was over in a moldy shop, really moldy. So the helmet, we had to clean the helmet up. I guess I took it to the shop already. So y'all be safe out there. It's very important that you don't get lung problems and things like that. When you have them, it usually don't go away. So y'all be safe. Please subscribe. Please hit that like button. Please share. And y'all come back and see us here at Maxs's Garage Mahal.